Okay, so I want to share some good news with you. After almost 3 years, but largely almost 3 years to the day, it appears that the complaint against me by another colleague is going to get resolved. Not through in paper yet, so we'll wait and see. But I got a phone call yesterday and they ran through a couple of questions. Where are you practicing? What's your recall system? How does this work? How many hours are you working? How many days or years, do you want to keep working as a doctor? And then we jumped into the notes review, and a bunch of it is practice-based, and then a bunch of it is about me. And they're like, look, you've clearly substantially improved your notes. And I was like, thank you. There's still deficiencies, but I'm like, yeah, I know. I already went through all of the ones that you guys pulled up. But it has been a long road. I want you to know that when I first had this come through with AHPRA, I was speaking to the lawyers. I'm like, so we done in like 3 to 4 months? And they're like, no. It's almost comical, literally comical to think that I thought that it might be over in 3 to 4 months. And they were like, no, this would be like 12 months. But with COVID, I mean, the crazy thing is I've had a grand total of 2 interactions over 3 years. And one of the interesting things for me is just the lack of feedback that kind of interaction rate incurs. So after... what was it? So the complaint's in October 2020, first meeting in March 22. So what's that, like 18 months? And then the second meeting in 18 months later. I'm like, are you guys trying to induce stress? Are you guys trying to provide worst case experience? And that really has been shocking, because if you look at the causes of strain and stress in people, then what it's really good to do is just have one gigantic piece of time with no feedback. So I'm not getting any feedback about whether I'm on course or not. Not any like, hey, okay, I didn't even realize until the phone call, they're like, here's the criteria that you'll be judged on. I'm like, oh my God, they'd be kidding me. This is insanity. And I get it why people just like, I can't deal with this. I have extensive resources, experience in terms of dealing with significant trauma, fear, anxiety-inducing situations. And really, the overall take in it is that, hey, if you really wanted to improve this, that is possible. But it would involve frequent feedback with small improvements, feedback, improve this, here's the criteria, and not this insanity that I've been through. Now, will anything change? I don't know. I'm very curious whether I'll actually get a feedback form, and that may happen. I just had a patient go through an AHPRA complaint, and they dismissed the whole thing. And I was like, okay, well, that was good. That was interesting. And after that, there was a feedback thing. But this extended period of time, it does make it very difficult. And in the early stages, there was deep levels of questioning of competence. I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. Maybe I am unaware of what's actually going on. That people are like, hey, no, you're a good doctor. And I'm like, am I? How did I get a complaint? And I remember back to medical school, and they're like, look, you will have complaints against you. That is inevitable. We look at the number of complaints, the number of medico-legal things, like the statistics strongly lead towards you having complaints against you, even if you know what you're doing, even if you're a good doctor. And the craziest thing to me is that there's lots of doctors out there who are not doing a great job. I've seen occasionally bringing up patients' files in their safe script, and there's all these private scripts of Xanax and OxyContin. Nothing happens, or at least obviously I'm not aware. Maybe they are getting pinged. But unless there's a complaint, then it all just goes under the bridge and hey, nothing's said. So the overall experience is very stressful. I would strongly recommend not going through it. And here's what to do. If you are in an AHPRA situation, here's what you want. You want great notes. You want great notes around your history, great notes around your examination, great notes around your differentials, great notes around your plan, which includes both your management and your follow-up. And you could just have a tick box. And the reason that I bring this up is because they're the criteria that you'll be judged on. And if you already have these in place right now, hopefully you do. You're like, yeah, Tom, of course I got all of those dialed in. But when I see other doctors' notes, I'm often like, oh, okay, you guys have no idea what will come down if you've got 2 lines written. And you could argue that everything's fine until it's not. And if it's not, then you may as well, you're going to have to do this anyway. So the quality of your notes is something to look at. It's taken me a while. I was dismissive of this. I was like, you know, my patients like me. I'm a good doctor. I do a good job. There's no need. I'm not going to get a complaint. It was an unexpected curveball from another doctor that got me. I was like, hey, you're a bully. And they're like, oh, well, I can't deal with that. I'm going to complain to you about you to AHPRA. I'm like, fuck, some fucked up shit. What's really interesting also is that I think the practice and the colleague and everyone involved, like, it's like, hey, how about we went to no fault here? And we're like, okay, well, what needs to shift? But that's not going to happen anytime soon. It's a very interesting situation that we find ourselves in. So here's a couple of things. Number one, tell the truth. Write down what happened, even if it's ugly, even if it's wrong, even if you like messed up. Better to document the mistake and then you're telling the truth. And then you can rely on your notes. You see, if your notes are filled with lies, then it's going to be very hard for people to go, well, hang on. When you said this, but we know that that happened, how can we take any authority across all of your notes? And so your notes not only need to be good, they also need to be the truth. And this can be awkward because sometimes, guess what? We're human beings. We make mistakes. Sometimes we're faced with uncertainty. Sometimes there's a question that didn't get asked. And in retrospect, it's like, how could you have missed that? It's like, well, like, have you tried to consult? Recently, we had Hamish Blake from a comedy show saying, hey, I could do the GP's job. And I was talking about this with a patient, and it was very interesting because what my experience has been, and hopefully if you've had medical students, you will have this experience, and it's like, they are like, how did you do that? How did you get through all of that content? How did you know to ask those questions? How did you diagnose that? How did you do that? Because they're coming off a medical training and they're still bewildered by it. But your experience and your skills and your repetition at just going through case after case after case, there is both a level of knowledge and an innate level of skills that come with just having consulted so much. So Hamish greatly underestimates what's actually going on. To make it look easy as a GP means that there's been a truckload of work that's gone in, and you've got this. You've got this. To pass the exams, it requires a truckload of work. To show up each day and practice, it takes a truckload of work. And we're seeing across the board, it's very interesting having shared my situation with people. They're like, you know, GPs, you're not the only GP that's unhappy. I'm like, well, like general practice is okay, but it is greatly undervalued. Greatly undervalued. And that may shift in time. Either we're going to go to AI and AI is going to take over the role of general practice, or we're going to find that general practice is quite difficult. That if a robot or AI can't examine the patient, perhaps there's findings there. Now, I think that AI is going to be helpful, and it's going to integrate into a best practice or the medical software, and we're going to have it as a sidekick. It's going to be pretty awesome. It's like, okay, hey, think about this, this, and this. Did you notice that this, this, and this? Even to have a notes review and you load up the last 50 patients you've seen, and it's like, you are consistently missing this. You need to adjust this. And then in real time, it's coming in and saying, hey, where's the blood pressure? Hey, where's the treatment plan? Hey, where's your follow-up? Hey, why have you not got history here? Hey, why have you not added the family history? Reminders, reminders, reminders. Because right now that's kind of done. Depends on what program you're on. But these things, given the situation and the difficulty that people are in, you see, people are less tolerant. They're under way more stress. They're stress strained, and you're meant to be consulting in that. So it takes a lot of skill to be able to manage people's anxieties, document that, and resolve their problems. So good news. 3 years later, Jesus, I mean, it's just shocking to me. Let me give you one more example how bad it is. It took them 7 months to work out that they couldn't deal with this and it needed to be referred to the medical council, they being AHPRA. I'm like, what the hell were you guys doing? Like, was there multiple committees to work out that you could not answer the question and it needed to be referred? Like, surely that is evident at the first read, second read, third read. Like, you've gone through it. I get it. It was 22 pages, discussion of all. I mean, if it was too much, then make the decision and refer and let's get it moving. What is with the 7 months? Because what they are not appreciating is the cost that happens to practitioners. And it's a scary place. If you haven't been through it, it's like, oh my goodness. I was so terrified, so freaked out. So I was having, I actually got diagnosed with acute stress disorder. Like, that's how bad it is. It's really not that much fun at all. And the crazy thing is, at the end of it, it's like, okay, wow, yeah, keep good notes. So, check out your notes. Have a look at them. How's your history? Just pull pull your last week, grab random 10 patients and go through them and critique them. And imagine that these 10 patients have been pulled up and now you're having to explain. And notice also, I want to share one more thing that I learned from this. It's not that they want to know what happened. It's also what you were thinking. So that's all I got for you. It's good news for me. It's wonderful that this is coming to an end. It's been a long road, but I hope you're having an awesome day. Check your notes. Catch you next time.